Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. And it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something we're really excited to be part of. And I think we're well on our way to doing that. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of the Herd, Colin Cowherd, where he's interviewing none other than Tom Brady. I actually had recorded a video with this. And you can see because it's 7 minutes in. And then I just hit stop because it was like, he's not saying anything. Like, there's nothing for me to even react to. And I'm not going to just react for the sake of reacting, or he's not really saying much. And then I was like, okay, well, you know what, I'm just gonna let this clip run while I organize other clips, and that way I can why I organize, because I'm going to be recording first things first clips right now, and I was like, I'll let this play in the background while I kind of try to queue up what I need to do and get the other tabs open. And then he said something that I was like, oh, and of course I was like, man, I shouldn't have stopped the video. He said something that I thought was really, really interesting. And since starting this YouTube channel, I've been having a lot of conversations with people and lots of back and forths. And there's this notion that if you predict something that's going to happen in the game and it happens, that means you know what you're talking about. And if you predict something that doesn't happen, that means now you're a clown and you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. And that seems to be the consensus. Whether it's myself, whether it's Nick Wright, whether it's Chris Broussard, Colin Cowherd, all this type of stuff. And now we have literally none other than the Tom Brady, okay? And let's just take a look and see what he has to say. I saw this and I thought of y'all right away.
Because there's nothing guaranteed when you go out there on the field. There's no part of the game that is knowing exactly how it's going to unfold, which is great. Why we watch the television and why we watch the games is because we want to see how they unfold as well. So none of these games are predictable. I think there's parts of them you say, oh, I think they're going to do these things, but how's the other team going to respond? I didn't think in the Niner game that Detroit was going to get the ball first, run the ball 3 times, and be in the end zone on a 40-plus yard reverse. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, what's the Niners defense going to do? How are they going to stop the run? How are they going to stop the boot? How are they going to stop the reverse? They struggled with that the entire first half. Then they come out in the second half, and they found a way to say, okay, this is how the game plan is identifying itself. This is how we're going to now go in there and try to defend it, and then they tighten it up. So right. I watched Novak Djokovic lose so many first sets, and then he's just feeling it out. And he's not exactly, you don't need to.
So, and that's the point that I wanted to drive home in terms of this, predicting things, where we say if someone predicts something correctly, that means they know what they're talking about, or we say they got lucky. And if they predict something and it's just completely wrong, it just means, well, they're an idiot and they don't know what they're talking about. And I don't know where sports got to that point. We can disagree with people's analysis and predictions even, right? If you say, I think, and let's just use 2 teams that no one cares about right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers, okay? Because I feel like if I use other common teams, people are going to get all fired up. But so you have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Carolina Panthers, right? And you're like, I think they're going to be able to run the ball, and I think the Jags are definitely have the chance of winning this game because the Jags are going to be able to run all down Carolina Panthers, and the pass rush for the Jags are going to be able to stop, the pass game for the Panthers, and so they're going to really beat them. And then instead, that doesn't happen, and now the Panthers are able to really throw the ball and, throw for 300-plus yards, score a few touchdowns, and they end up winning the game. And then people then come back and say, see, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You just proved that you know nothing about football. And it's like, wait a second. How does that make sense, right? Because you have professional gamblers who literally only have a 53 to 55%. Like, that is the world-class sports bettors. Okay, the only ones that are actually making money and making a living doing this. Everyone else just loses money. They have a success rate of 53 to 55%. Okay, that's just ever so slightly above a coin flip, obviously. And again, we have all these professional athletes. Tom Brady knows more football than any one of us on TV, any one of us on YouTube, any one of us watching these things, anyone who's played. Tom Brady knows more football than we will ever know. And you think Tom Brady can predict every single game? You think that Tom Brady didn't predict something that what is going to happen in the playoffs that didn't? That the exact opposite happens? And now you're just going to say, Tom Brady's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know football. You know what I mean? And so I really wanted to highlight this because not only for myself, for my own making predictions, that whether they may be right or wrong or whatnot, but then also what we see on TV when we see Colin Cowherd or Nick Wright and things of that nature. Those seem, and Bruce Hart, I guess. Those are the three main people who kind of make predictions that I at least react to on here. And I want to say that, like I disagree with plenty on Nick Wright, but I never say he's a clown and doesn't have any idea what the heck he's talking about. I think he's too biased with the Chiefs, right? Which is like, to me, is annoying just because I prefer unbiased material. I don't like to watch that type of stuff, right? That's why I don't watch local radio and local, you don't watch radio. I don't listen to local radio or watch the local sports shows because I don't care. I don't like biased content, right? Even if it's my own team and it's being filtered through that lens, where they're going to say more positive things and make more, productive excuses for my own team. Like, I don't want to hear it. I like really unbiased. I'm the same way with just regular news. I don't like the common news networks out there, which I'm not going to name, but I don't like them because they're all biased through their own side and through their own lens. I am very much like unbiased. I try to be unbiased as much as possible. That's why I always take issue when people say that I'm a hater of this team or that player, this. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just genuinely trying to express how I'm viewing this, how I'm watching the game, how I'm seeing it. And yes, I'm also a fan, so I do want to kind of filter in some fandom into it because I don't want to just be robotic and be like, this is what's going to happen and this is why, because they have 300 yards on average and this team only has 200 yards on average, therefore this team's going to win. That's not interesting to me either. It's really trying to bridge this of like, hey, we're all fans, we love sports, this is great, but also let's kind of do some deep dive, let's do some analysis, let's kind of see what other people are talking about and have those greater conversations. But what I'm noticing, at least with this channel, at least with the comments, I should say, because like anything, right, the people in the comments, the more negative people are more vocal than the more positive people. That's just the way it goes in life. Right, we see this with whether it's Yelp reviews or doctor reviews, right? It's the negatives are always, it's always the extremes, actually, really, more than anything, both negatives and the ultra positive, right? People are either the most amazing thing you've ever heard or the worst you've ever heard. But I just want to say, especially if I ever criticize Nick Wright or Chris Broussard or Colin Cowherd, I'm criticizing them, but I still have a tremendous amount of respect for them, right? Like, I don't think that they're idiots or morons or don't know what they're talking about, right? I think it's the opposite. I think they know. I think they know a lot of what they're talking about, and they bring up interesting points. I would say, so, even if I criticize them or disagree with them, it doesn't mean that I just think that they're just a bunch of fools or that, I don't respect their opinion. You can disagree with someone. And again, Nick Wright has been wrong so much this season, and especially in the playoffs. But I don't think that he's a moron, doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Like, I don't say like, and if I've ever said that in the past, which I really don't think I have, then I regret that. But I don't think I've ever said that to him about him. And so, and again, if he's proven wrong in a moment, right? Like, he was proven wrong about the Cowboys versus the Packers, and he was proven wrong about the Texans versus the Ravens, right? It doesn't mean that what he said or his analysis wasn't valid at the time, or that again, that is proof that he just has no idea what he's talking about. And so that's one of those things where I want to get away from that, and I'm trying to figure out in my own way, because I've been having these conversations with people, especially when the Chiefs won, and how, he obviously did his victory lap because the Chiefs are his team. And it was just kind of like, and I kept saying in the comments, like, it's silly to me to do a victory lap when you've been wrong so many times, and then you're, maybe you were right to a degree for one of your predictions, and now you're like, see, I told you I'm right. And it's weird to me to be wrong 3 out of 4 times, but then that 1 out of 4, you're like, I told you this was what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, well, obviously one of your predictions is going to come true. I mean, I don't think you're a complete, clown to all this type of stuff. So I'm trying to figure out where if I predict something correct or wrong for that matter, how I can come to everyone and be like, see, this is what I thought was going to happen, and this is what happened. I want to get away from that. I told you, because that is what First Things First does a lot. And I don't love that aspect of the show. I love that show. I watch it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the banter, the back and forth. But I don't love how they really lean into the "I told you I was right." You were wrong. You were wrong. Like that's not what I enjoy about sports media. That's why my favorite show really is Colin Cowherd, because he doesn't necessarily do that. I mean, he'll do that too to occasion. He'll be like, "I told you guys. I told you over the weekend. You all said I was wrong." And so I'm personally, as someone who's trying to be a content creator within this space, trying to figure out how to have these conversations without it being this, "I told you so, this is what was going to happen." Because I know that this is just my analysis or my feelings or what I think is going to happen. And if it happens, then it's like, yeah, see, I was right. But if it's wrong, but if it didn't happen in that moment, it doesn't mean that analysis was wrong. It just means that it didn't happen. And that's why I don't make hard predictions, because I did it only like one time or maybe twice, I forget, because I just wanted to see what it would look like. Because when I first started this channel, I wasn't making any hard predictions, because I was just like, I just, that's not interesting to me. I don't like to predict things. I've said repeatedly, I like post game more than pre game. I love to analyze things after the fact and kind of leading up to it, but not so much of these, who do you think is going to win and what, and this is what's going to happen. And that's why I always lay out options of what I think can happen. And I'll usually lay out a couple options, because I think that's fair, right? Because someone tried to say before, oh, well, if you do that, well, then what kind of, you're kind of picking both sides. And it's like, no. If I truly believe that one team has no chance at winning, I will express that. But if I really believe, hey, this is what I think what will happen, it's either this team's either going to win in a blowout, or this other team is going to win, or the other team is going to win a close game. Yeah, technically you're picking one team and the other team, but it's under very different circumstances. And again, I can't think of any specific predictions off of the top of my head. I did say that I thought the Ravens were going to win convincingly against the Dolphins, and I was and I remember that was one of the first predictions that I really said very adamantly, this is what I think is going to happen. And I said Lamar Jackson is going to prove to be significantly better than Tua, because there was like the debate about the MVP conversation, and that is what happened. And I specifically said the Packers are a really good team and that the Cowboys are overinflated. I did not predict a blowout, but that is exactly what happened, right? Like we saw that happen. But then again, I started doing my own victory laps in the comments, and I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't, because I was getting sucked into it too much too, because again, this was all brand new to me at the time. And I was like, see, I told you. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't really want to say I told you. That's not what I enjoy. So I'm trying to figure out how best to move forward in that regard, because I want to create a more conducive, positive back and forth of where we're rooting for certain teams, we're making predictions, whether they're right or wrong. And I just want it to be a more fun, because you could even see that on First Things First, things sometimes get too heated. Like that's genuine. You saw Nick Wright genuinely getting angry and absurd and having to cool down and stuff like that. We've seen it obviously with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, and obviously with Stephen A and all those things. And that's not the environment that I personally am trying to create. And again, it's why I gravitated towards shows like The Herd, because there is not that. It is not this back and forth yelling this and that and saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're wrong. I'm right. Ha. I don't enjoy that personally. That's why, the main shows that I review are Colin Cowherd and First Things First, because those are the more chill shows that are seem to be a little bit more nuanced. But it seems as time has gone on, at least throughout the playoffs or just the season in general for the NFL, obviously Nick Wright is really leading into the Chiefs, which then you then had to like kind of balance it out with Brew really heavily leaning on the Ravens or even the Eagles earlier on in the season. And I wish they would. I personally wish that they would get away from that a little bit more. And so again, I just think what Tom Brady was saying of like, you can't predict games, this or that, and this is the Tom Brady. And again, just because you win or lose in a game doesn't mean you're bad or good, right? Just because you win a game doesn't mean that you're necessarily better. And just because you lose doesn't mean that you're necessarily worse. Tom Brady has lost a lot of games in his life. Does that mean in those games that he was not good, or that he wasn't good enough, or that he was never good enough? Of course not, right? And just because he's won certain games doesn't mean that he was clearly the best, at that time or that moment or in that game. And again, it's that unpredictability and the variable of play that that's why we watch, because we have no idea what's going to happen. No matter how much we think we can predict, and no matter how many times we predict something that actually ends up happening, there was probably a lot of luck in that prediction. Steph Curry, I think this is the perfect example, and then I'll end it there. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, without a doubt. And even he misses shots, right? And then you have to ask yourself, why though, right? He's such an amazing shooter. He can literally make like 15 threes in a row, more than that. But then he'll miss a couple. And he's seemingly doing the exact same thing. Same mechanics, same jump, same lift, same eye, same sight, same everything. Seemingly doing everything the same. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. And so then the question is, well, why did it not go in that time? Why did he not? Right, and this is when he's wide open, right? This isn't a rush shot or someone's in his face or this, that, nothing to do. Wide open shots. It's like, why is it that he doesn't make it 100% of the time? And it's because there are variables that we literally to the naked eye can't even see. And that is just, the human experience and the sports experience as a whole. That's why, no matter how amazing Patrick Mahomes is, he's not winning every single game. That is why even Patrick Mahomes will have a bad throw, right? That's why even Patrick Mahomes will throw an interception. That is why, Tom Brady did not win 20 Super Bowls. And it's why Patrick Mahomes most likely will not win 20 Super Bowls. There's these variables and these things that we just don't see, that we don't fully understand. And again, that's what makes sports so fun and interesting to watch. So I really encourage everyone to just not be so strict with some of their feelings towards predictions or outcomes of games and conclusions that we reach about said players, right? I saw this especially with Lamar Jackson, and so saying automatically, see, he's done, he's choked, he can never win. Or people say that about Josh Allen, or people say that about Brock Purdy even, whether it's positive or negative, right? And I would just be like, we have to just watch this all unfold and just see what happens. But that's my thoughts on this. This isn't the video that I was necessarily expecting to make, quite honestly. I was hoping that this interview would bring more interesting content, but truthfully, he's just not saying anything. He's really not. I mean, the first 8 minutes of this clip, he was just kind of telling stories about when I was doing this and doing that, and it's like, well, I thought he was asking you, how good is Patrick Mahomes? And he didn't have anything to say. And then now they're asking, does Brock Purdy get enough credit? And it's like, you're not answering that question right now. So I figured this would be a good time to post this video about him, because I just thought what he said about the predictions and stuff like that is really awesome. And if you can't trust what Tom Brady is saying, and take that into consideration, well then I don't know what to tell you, because like I said, Tom Brady knows way more football, just life stuff in general, honestly, more than you or I will ever know. And you know what? If Patrick Mahomes is watching this video, then maybe not, okay? If Patrick Mahomes is watching this video, maybe you're the one person that will one day know more than him, or maybe you already do. I don't know. But what do you all think about my nice little rant there? Definitely like a slightly different deep dive analysis than what I normally do on here. So if this is your first time watching, this isn't the best representation of type of the content that I make, but still, I thought that this was a worthwhile video to post. So let me know what you all think in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community, and I would truly love to have you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really, really helps with the visibility algorithm. It's nothing to you. All you do is just click it. It literally doesn't affect you at all, but it really, really helps me, and I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.